Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, GODSLAYERS. I'm Sal and today I'm going to be breaking down loot, more specifically augments, in my second part of my 3-part loot guide. I'll be telling you what the best augments to get are, where to get them, and what builds they might fit best with. The very first thing you should know is that there are 3 types of augments: Might, Vitality, and Spirit. Might is red, Vitality is green, and Spirit is blue. Primal augments can only come from ATOT. Cursed items cannot be primal. You should also know that the key to any good build is the augment setup. This can make or break your build. You should also know that each Valor Plate has different augment setups and can only equip a certain amount of each type of augment. You want to keep this in mind when trying to find ways to combine your augments. I would go more into Valor Plates and their augment setups, but I will create a separate video focusing on just the Valor Plates and a sort of guide for them. Now, let's begin with the Vitality augments, and what I believe are the best Vitality augments in the game. First, you should know that Vitality items can only roll with certain secondaries. Those secondaries being resistance-based, so any type of element resistance, overhealth retention, and overhealth gained. For your last upgrade for Vitality items, you can add to resistances, add Might, Spirit, or an element damage boost. Vitality augments can also have ailment power and ailment duration. Now, let's jump into our actual loot. First up is our Void Shell. This is a legendary augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us overhealth depending on the amount of Might we have connected to this augment. This means you need to have augments that have Might on them connected to this augment. Now, your first instinct would be to place this where it can touch the most red augments, but keep in mind that blue and green augments can also have Might added as their last upgrade. Next up is Presence of Mind, a legendary augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary increases our resistances depending on how much vitality we have on adjacent augments. This means augments connected to this one. Next up we have our Force Barrier, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. This has us be uninterrupted while attacking if our overhealth is above 50%. This, in my opinion, is one of the best augments in the game. Next up is our Nightshade. This is an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary blinds enemies when they reduce our overhealth. It goes really well with the Renzai Mancatcher epic polearm and this next augment. Which brings us to White Recluse, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary applies the Mark of Leeching when we blind an enemy. The Mark of Leeching gives you health when you hit the afflicted enemy. It also gives your allies health. Next is the Glamour Augment, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us more damage for each type of ailment on the enemy if 2 adjacent augments are green. This means augments need to be directly connected to this augment and be green. Next up is the Mirror Augment, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary applies the Mark of Weakness when you hit a weak point. The Mark of Weakness makes the enemy deal less damage. Next up is Tarnished Heart. This is an epic augment that can be found in the Lightbringer game mode. Its primary has our cursed power be increased when we have no blessings. This is good for ailment builds. After that is Austere Radiance, an epic augment that can be found only in Lightbringer. Its primary increases our shock power if we have 60% or more air resistance. This is most used in consume builds. Next is Screaming Winds, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary has us deal air damage equal to the amount of overhealth lost. Next is the Lion's Pride, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us overhealth whenever we defeat an enemy. After that is Rift. It's a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us more damage for each ailment on the enemy. After that is Anathema, a rare augment that can be found only in the Lightbringer game mode. This has our void damage also increase our curse duration. This is again good for ailment builds. Next up is Star Waves. It's a rare augment that can be found only in Lightbringer. Its primary increases shock duration, but decreases health recovery. This is mostly used in consume builds. After that is Fortitude, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary increases overhealth retention, but decreases health recovery. Last for our Vitality Augments is Razor's Edge, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. This has us increase our damage on our next attack after we are hit. Next up, we have our Spirit Augments, and what I believe to be the best Spirit Augments in the game. The first thing you should know is that only certain secondaries can come on Spirit Augments. Some of these include takedown damage or shield-related damage, Archon Fury damage, or elemental damage. For example, damage to bleeding enemies or physical damage. For its last upgrade, you will always have the option for Might, Vitality, Archon Fury damage, or elemental damage again. Blue augments can also have ailment power and ailment duration. Now let's start off with our first augment, the Sunburst, a legendary augment that can be found anywhere. It gives us health when we hit an enemy depending on how much vitality we have on adjacent augments. After that is Enervation, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary has us Archon Fury duration increase for 1 second whenever we defeat an enemy. After that is the Entropy Augment. It's an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary shoots out projectiles whenever we activate our Archon Fury. Next up is Wild Hunt, an epic augment that can be found in the Lightbringer game mode. Its primary gives us more earth damage whenever we hit an enemy that has 8 poison stacks or more. Next up is the Dartless Augment, an epic augment that can be found in the Lightbringer game mode. Its primary gives us more polarity attack damage and charge if we have all of our resistances at 45% or more. Next up is Mist Veil, an epic augment that can be found in the Lightbringer game mode. Its primary has us apply an extra stack of chill on enemies with 5 or more stacks as long as we have 60% or more water resistance. Next up is Divine Conduit, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us Archon Charge whenever we are hit. After that, we have Warp, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary applies stasis to enemies when we use our Lifestone. This essentially makes them statues for a brief moment. After that is Sleepless Eye, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary has each enemy that's hit by our shield take more damage. So the more enemies, the more damage it will build up. After that is Azure Fang, a rare augment that can be found in the Lightbringer game only. Its primary increases poison duration but takes away poison power. Next up is Lucid Vision, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us health whenever we hit an enemy with our shield. After that is Enchanted Tear, a rare augment that can be found only in the Lightbringer game mode. Its primary increases our chill duration but takes away our Archon charge speed. After that is Black Seed, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us shield charge and as our shield attacks, deal more damage when we defeat an enemy with our weapon techniques. Last for our spirit augments is Scourge, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us shield charge whenever we defeat an enemy. Not least are our might augments, and what I believe to be the best might augments in the game. The first thing you should know is that only certain secondaries can come on might augments. You can get rampage bonus damage, weapon tech damage, elemental damage, so that means more physical damage, earth damage, and so on. You can also get polarity attack damage and polarized bonus damage traits. Now let's jump into what I think are the best might augments. First up we have Carnage, a legendary augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us increased crit damage depending on how much might we have attached to this augment. After that is Surety, a legendary augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary increases our weak point damage and exposes weak points whenever we hit them with our Northern technique. After that we have Foreboding Reach, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary increases rampage bonus damage for every 20 might on adjacent augments. This works well with Charging Lion or Fearless Wolf as a combo. Next up is our Fearless Wolf, an epic augment that can be found in only the Lightbringer game mode. Its primary increases our rampage bonus damage and charge speed if we have less than 45% physical resistance. Next is Evisceration, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us the Blessing of Power whenever we crit. The Blessing of Power increases the damage we do. After that we have the Charging Lion augment, one of my favorites. It's an epic augment that can only be found in the Lightbringer game mode. Its primary has all of our rampage bonus damage also increase our weak point damage. After that is Firmament, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary increases our Soul Shatter buildup during Rampage. And after that is Twilight Bloom, an epic augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary increases our weapon take damage if at least 2 adjacent augments are red. Next up, we have Ironheart, a rare augment that can be found in the Lightbringer game mode only. Its primary increases our crit chance, but decreases our Rampage charge speed. This is the only augment that can give you a base boost in crit chance. Next up, we have Spark, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us weapon tech charge speed whenever we hit a weak point. After that is Solar Bliss, a rare augment that can be found in the Lightbringer game mode. Its primary increases our ignite power, but takes away duration. This pairs well with the Akashim legendary polearm from the Lightbringer game mode. Next up, we have Paradise. It's a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us weapon charge whenever we crit. After that is Frostfire, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us a base boost in crit damage during Rampage. Next up, we have Force of Nature, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us weapon charge whenever we defeat an enemy. Next up is a very important augment, and that's Focus, a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us overhealth whenever we crit. Last but not least is Cosmic Dance. It's a rare augment that can be found anywhere. Its primary gives us the Blessing of Luck whenever we defeat an enemy with a takedown. The Blessing of Luck increases our crit chance. Well, that's all I have for the second part of my loot guide. I hope this may be of some help to all of you. I'd like to invite all of you to our Discord linked in the pinned comment and the description below. There we have guides, builds, and people who play every day. I will be releasing the next part of this guide in the coming week. Thank you all again for the support, and until next time, take care.